All right, it says that we are live. So hey everybody, just doing a little housekeeping here, getting the permissions straight, and we will be ready to go. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm good. I'm tired tonight.
Oh,
Long week, man.
brother, listen, I've been up since midnight.
Really?
Yeah, I've been on calls. I got to travel next week, and so we're preparing for that, and it's been a challenge. But so let me get a couple of shares going here.
I see
There's
your
my
sister's
sister is
here.
there.
Yeah,
Sandy is there.
yeah,
I'm always happy to see my sister.
yeah. Me too.
Can't wait for you to meet her. She is absolutely dopey dope dope dope. Let's see, and I want to share to a page. I'm just doing some shares here while we're doing
Sure.
this. And then I haven't uncorked my wine yet, but we'll do that while we're talking.
Yeah. I was thinking about wine. I went to the liquor store and I found this. If you can see it,
Oh, let's see. What is it?
Kahlua,
Oh, Kahlua.
chili, but it's chili infused.
Ooh, ooh, nice.
So I have a brown Russian. It was a black Russian, but I thought I'm gonna add just a little bit of milk to it. So
Yeah, I got a good name for it. It's not
what's that?
politically correct, but you could call it a Nigradamus. And that I didn't make that up. That came from a skit from Chappelle's show, right? Dave
Okay.
Chappelle. I forget what my man's name was, but he's Paul Mooney is his name. He's a comedian that just passed away recently, but he played like the black version of Nostradamus,
Oh,
and they
okay.
and they called him Nigradamus, and it's hilarious. I highly recommend it. Go out to YouTube and just search on Nigradamus and just prepare to laugh your ass off.
I'll definitely do that.
So we have a subject tonight, and since Aaron, you originated that, I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and kick it over to you for the introduction of tonight's topic.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about unconditional love. What is unconditional love? Is it a thing really? Does it
Yep.
even exist?
Does it exist?
Or is it just another, what would we call it? Is it just the dog chasing his tail?
Another
Again,
religious cliche.
yeah, exactly. I mean, unconditional love. Well, I don't even know if I can speak for Christians these days. I don't even know if they believe in that anymore. But
Yep.
when I was in it, we believed in unconditional love, God's unconditional love.
Pinot
What you
Noir.
drinking?
Pinot Noir,
Oh,
free flight,
I
and
like
it's
Pinot Noir.
supposed to be really, really good. So we're gonna see how this all shakes out. I'm gonna pour up a good adult size pour, and cheers, my brother.
Cheers.
Oh shit, that's good. Oh man.
They didn't lie to you, huh?
Oh, they didn't. That one, that's a winner. That's a keeper. All right, brother, keep on rocking, man.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been thinking about this for a while because and then it's popular in spiritual circles, particularly what we might call the love and light community. That's what I call
Mm-hmm.
them. Light worker community, New Age community. They talk a lot about unconditional love, and we seem to exalt that as a value, something that we want to strive for. And so I started thinking about it. What does it mean for something to be unconditional, right? So if you look it up, this is one of those fun dictionary words. You look up unconditional, and it basically tells you the opposite of conditional.
Okay.
So looking up conditions, I'm going to read you. So this comes from just the first one that Google pulls up. I don't know which dictionary, but it's given me 3 definitions for conditions, right? The first definition is the state of something with regard to its appearance, quality, or working order.
Mm.
Number two, the circumstances affecting the way in which people live or work, especially with regard for their safety or well-being.
Okay.
And the third, last definition, a state of affairs that must exist or be brought about before something else is possible or permitted. So I think when people are talking about unconditional love, they're meaning the opposite of conditional love. And I think they would go off this third definition here, the state of affairs that must exist or be brought about before something else is possible or permitted. And that got me thinking about conditions in a totally different manner. So here's my premise for tonight, where I'll start.
Okay.
Everything that I could think of in this world, in this universe, has conditions. Everything does.
Yep. Sure does.
You're in Phoenix, right?
Yep.
So I'm sure you appreciate your air conditioner.
Yeah.
It changes the quality of your experience, right?
Yeah.
My great aunt and uncle moved to Phoenix, I want to say in the 30s or early 40s. And so this was before everybody had air conditioning. And they had lettuce fields. They were in the lettuce business.
Mm.
They're in where Maricopa, where the little town of Maricopa is, kind of in that
Yep.
area.
Yep.
There. And so she used to tell me, my great aunt used to tell me about how they worked the fields at night because it was too hot to work them during the day, and how they would wet their sheets when they would go to bed. They would wet their sheets down, or they would take a bucket of ice and put a fan in front of the bucket of ice. Various different things they had to do because they didn't have air conditioning, right? So everything has conditions. If someone's going to get pregnant, the right conditions have to exist, right?
Yep.
If one thing's driving me nuts right now, we're getting tons of rain in Colorado this year, which is great because we don't have forest fires, we don't have fire bans. But the last two 4th of July celebrations, they had to cancel all the public fireworks displays because there was high fire danger. So the conditions were right for forest fires and brush fires and that kind of thing, right?
Yep.
We're getting tons of rain. I got 2 acres, and so I've got weeds. I mean, I've got a lawn and yard that's fenced off, but I don't have the full 2 acres lawn. So the conditions are right for a bunch of weeds. And so I got to thinking about this. What if we reframe this and thought about this differently? What are the conditions necessary for love to thrive? Because it seems to me that everything in the universe either thrives or dies based on the conditions. And so if I reframe the question, start asking myself, what are the conditions necessary for love to exist? Number one. And then number two, does striving for unconditional love then set us up for a lower quality experience of love? Or set us up, like I said in the beginning, to be chasing our tails? And if so, maybe we need to, reframe this issue or quit talking about or virtue signaling about unconditional love. Yeah, because that's what a lot of it is, right?
Yep. Yep.
So with that said, Derek, I will serve it back to you.
Well, I thought about this, and I remember when I was preaching the gospel, I used to say that I was preaching the too good to be true news of God's unconditional love and unlimited grace. And it's one of those things. It sounds really good on paper. Conceptually, it's great.
Yeah.
But in practice, it's not practical.
Right.
Because love is definitely conditional. I used to say that if you wanted to see unconditional love, look at, deliberate pause there, because some of y'all were thinking Jesus, but that's not where I was going.
You got me.
A dog. A dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think of unconditional love, you think of your dog. It's like, your dog is always going to love you.
Right.
Or is he? Because shelters are full of dogs that have
Mm.
various neuroses that stem from abuse.
Mm.
And so their reaction to human touch, human contact, human voices is not always positive.
Right.
So the epitome, see, people think that the epitome of unconditional love is God, but it's really closer to DOG. And and the thing is that these dogs have conditions.
Right.
If you feed your dog, if you cuddle your dog, like we have a situation here in our house that everybody likes fried foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always a skillet ablaze with something being fried in it. And invariably, almost 100% of the time, somebody sets off the smoke detector. And that drives our poor dog nuts.
Sure.
He walks around and he's so, you can see the sadness on his face, and he's howling because the pitch of the alarm hurts his ears.
Right.
But he's, whenever somebody starts frying something in the kitchen, he shows up. You know why? Because somebody invariably gives him some of whatever they're frying. So it's like he knows that this is something that's going to set up, that's going to trigger something that hurts him, but he shows up anyway to get something because he thinks he's going to get something out of it. But the funny thing is that if the alarm were to go off every time, like it does, and no one ever gave him a treat,
Mm-hmm.
or and sometimes what I'll do, because he's a small dog, I'll pick him up and I'll cuddle him and just pet him, hold him close to my chest like a baby and tell him, hey, Bo, it's going to be okay, buddy. It's going to be okay. The exhaust fan's on. It's going to pass. You're going to be okay. I talk to him like that. And so if it weren't for the petting or for the treats, eventually he would just get so ticked off by this alarm that every time somebody goes to cook something, he would just have a conniption and he'd be hostile. So like you said, there are conditions to everything. There are conditions in order to get pregnant, like you so artfully said. In order to get pregnant, you have to have the proper conditions. In order for grape juice to turn into wine, you have to have the right conditions. Everything is conditional. Life, what makes the earth so special, and when scientists, astronomers look at different planets as where the possibility of life may exist, they look at the conditions, the prevailing conditions of the planet, and say, are these conditions conducive
Right.
to life as we know it? Now, let me say this. This is where I'm going to step up to my witch's cauldron and stir the pot a bit, because people, when they think unconditional love, everybody says Jesus. That's what your M1A1 Christian will say.
Right.
That Jesus is unconditional love personified. Well, that ain't the case, brother and sister, because Jesus never said he loved anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just being stupid today, man. Please forgive me.
All right, man. It's all right. I love it.
Not only that, but I go back to where he spoke to the Syrophoenician woman who wanted a healing for her daughter.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, it is not meat to give the children's bread to dogs. Now, you got to catch this in context, because context is king when it
Right.
comes to everything, including scripture. that he's speaking to a woman and he uses the term dog. And if I could take a little bit of literary license with that, I would say that Jesus said, bitch, you can't get what is fit for the Jews.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
that's what he
Now,
said.
so that is not a loving statement.
No.
And when he called people broods of vipers, whitewashed tombs, filthy cups, he was cussing them out. This wasn't the nice, loving Jesus. And then, of course, the go-to for all Christians when they like to trot out vengeful Jesus trademark, they always go to the temple cleansings.
Right.
And say, oh, see, Jesus, he took things into his own hands and he had some violence in him. But it had nothing to do with sin. It had everything to do with people taking advantage of other people. But I digress. So anyway, I say all this to say, and I'm going to tell you, Aaron, you had posted something, I think for the first time, it was close to a year ago.
Yeah.
Where you said, Jesus is not the personification of unconditional love. And then you proceeded to post several other posts justifying that premise. And I remember that when you said that just a year ago, this is how far I've come in a year, that I was like, oh shit. I was like, because wait a minute, I was thinking, I said, okay, to be a good Christian, you got to be like Jesus. You got to have this love, this unconditional love. But when you started saying this and started walking through it, I was like, whoa, this dude is not unconditional love at all.
No.
And listen, let me say this, and I'm gonna shut up and kick it back to you, Aaron, because M1A1 Christianity says that you can't even be part of what Jesus did unless you elect to accept Jesus in your heart.
Right.
Which means that in order for you to participate in this quote unquote unconditional love, there is a prevailing condition. And on that note, back to you, Aaron.
So I love both dog illustrations, by the way, with the Syrophoenician woman too, because I've thought that often too. He called her a bitch.
Yeah.
But let's take it a little bit further. You and I are both parents, both married.
Yep.
So there are certain conditions, and again, I'm using the term condition not in the sense of prerequisites necessarily,
No.
but in the truest meaning, there are conditions that make for better relationships, right? And if you meet those conditions, just like your air conditioner, you're going to have a better quality experience. Now, would you want to teach your kids, really think about this, would you want to teach your kids to be unconditionally loving and set them up for marriage to be treated like a dog?
No.
I wouldn't. Are you gonna let your daughter? I mean, do you have a daughter? I can't.
No, not
Oh.
not biologically. I've got a couple of stepdaughters, but that's another.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've just got the two boys, but if I had a daughter, I don't think I would want her in a relationship where she's mistreated. Well, I wouldn't want my sons in a relationship where they're mistreated either. But let's take the stereotypical male abusive type relationship. Yeah, I don't think I would want to teach her to keep coming back into the kitchen to get a scrap of food. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so if we take conditions out of love, then aren't we really teaching people not to value themselves?
Yep. Because at that point, you would be willing to sacrifice yourself on the altar of love.
Right. Right, which is, I mean, this brings up another problem with Christianity, because that's what they say, right? That's what we said. The ultimate expression of love is Jesus dying on a cross.
Right.
Now, think about that for a minute. Just step back from the religious rhetoric, if you're listening, and think about that for a minute. What we are saying and have been saying and putting at the front of at least Roman Catholic churches for years in visual form is that true love looks like I'm not gonna be able to say it right. Not
Excruciating.
fully, excruciation is what I'm trying to say, right? Because that's
Ah,
to excruciate, that means that's out of the cross. That's literally what it means.
you know
Out of the
something,
crucifixion.
etymologically, you are correct, sir. I never thought about that.
So we're saying love isn't real love unless it's excruciating. And you think about the violence and the horror of Roman crucifixion, and I had to start asking myself, what place does that have in any discussion about love?
Mm.
And when we make that our primary symbol, our primary archetype, our primary example, what are we doing to the psyche? And how is that effect on the psyche then conditioning how we show love?
But watch this. People would say that love, what was who made that song? Love hurts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's Def Leppard.
yeah. Def Leppard. And people, this is like Stockholm syndrome illustrated, right? In other words,
Right.
I'm going to go to that thing that causes me pain, even though I love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Come on, man. Keep preaching.
All right, so here's the other problem that I was coming up with as I was thinking about this. We have a problem with language here, because love is a very abstract concept. And here's what I mean by that. It's a very broad term that is supposed to, like all language, reference something in our experience. So
Mhm.
the way the brain works linguistically is you hear a word and your brain searches your memory catalogs
Mhm.
for references that give meaning, references in your experience that give meaning to that word, right? So if I were to say, well, we were talking about dogs, I'm looking at my dog laying on the floor.
Mhm.
So if I were to say dog, well, people could picture a Pomeranian, Shih Tzu, German Shepherd. That could be their reference in their mind, right?
Yep.
We use this really broad term dog. Now, if I say my dog lying on the floor here is a somewhere between a chocolate and a black Labrador retriever, full Labrador retriever. Well,
Mhm.
now I've given you my reference, my frame of reference.
Right.
So the word love is like the word dog in the sense that you may be referencing a totally different meaning and set of experiences when you use the word love than what I'm referencing when I'm hearing the word love.
Mhm.
So Gary Chapman, he wrote his Sentinel book or whatever, the 5 love languages, and he kind of
Yep.
gets into this, like, and there's the 5 of them, and so for some people, gift giving is how they show love.
Mhm.
So when they think about love, they're referencing to some level generosity. Other people, it's time spent. They're referencing spending time with someone. For
Mhm.
other people, it's affection. You go through all of those.
Yep.
And so what we've done is we've taken human interactions and experiences that are pleasant, and then we have grouped it under this term love,
Yep.
so that we're not even sure what we're talking about when we use the word love. We're not even sure we're talking about the same thing. And then we talk about unconditional love, or
Mhm.
I love everybody. Well, I will be the first to admit proudly that I don't love everybody, because for me, the definition of love involves relationship. It involves a process of interaction where I'm showing care, positive regard, and wanting benefit for the people in my life that I relate with, right?
Hmm.
Well, I don't do that with everybody I relate with. And I sure as heck can't even possibly do that with people I don't even know. So this idea that you have to love everyone or that you have to love unconditionally, for me, breaks it down under examination when we really start looking at it, right? So I'll give you
Hmm.
one more example of this, and then I'll pitch it back to you. But I know a lot of people who have had sons or daughters who were drug addicts, who had problems with addiction. And so let's just suppose you have a adult child living with you, adult being 18 or older,
Hmm.
and this child won't get a job, eats all your food, and steals from you to go out and stay with their addiction,
Yeah.
and refuses to get help, refuses to get any kind of mental help or any kind of treatment, anything to stop the problem that they're having. Then the question becomes, what's the loving thing to do? And so I know some people that they thought the loving thing to do was kick them out of the house and
Tough love.
cut them off completely from any source of supply so that they weren't enabling that behavior in hopes that their child would hit rock bottom and get the help that they needed. Someone else would look at that and say, that's terrible that you kicked your child out of the house
Hmm.
and cut off all supply. And their idea of unconditional love then might be, well, I'm going to keep providing for them, providing a home for them, and continue to allow them to steal from me, because by doing that, I'm showing them love and hopefully going to sort of love them out of the situation, right?
Hmm.
So you have totally different actions, both parties claiming that it's love, but at the end of the day, what is it? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And this is something you just said something because I used to say, matter of fact, I used to say this until today, until just a few minutes ago, that I love everyone, you know, because I would say love at its core is empathy and compassion.
Mm,
And that's a good working definition, except you said the magic word. And this is the thing. Relationship. There has to be a connection because you can't love what you don't know.
right.
It's like um, I've driven a lot of cars in my life. I mean, it's even some exotic stuff, but I've never driven a Bugatti. Would love to, but I never have.
Hmm.
So I can't say that I love the experience of driving a Bugatti because I never had that experience. Now I can surmise based on my love of cars that maybe I might, but that would just be a guess. It wouldn't be out of my knowing.
Right.
And you said something. This is really interesting because like you can look at love and see love one way, and I can look at love and see it another way, right?
Right.
And neither one of us is wrong.
Right.
As a matter of fact, no one is wrong. And I'm going to illustrate why. Because in quantum physics, when
Mm,
you observe a quantum phenomenon, whether it be a wave or a particle, you don't know exactly the position, amplitude, or magnitude of that particle or wave.
mhm.
At best, you can know its probability that it's between here and here,
Right.
somewhere, right? But if you look at it, Aaron, and I look at it, not only do we see, not only do we each get different results, but the actual particle or wave is actually different. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's different because our observation, the mere fact that we have applied our senses to it, changes the perception and the outcome of the thing.
Mhm.
So when I look at love, love appears as something that I am conditioned to perceive.
Mhm.
And you look at love and it's something that you are conditioned to perceive. And we all have, in addition to conditions, we have conditioning. In other words, how we respond to a particular set or a particular stimuli, set of or a particular stimuli. So now that means that the mere fact that I'm looking at it changes it. And this is where it gets really interesting for all of you quantum physicists out there, is that every time you look at it, it's going to be different. In other words, you looking at it is going to change it, not for everyone else, it's going to change it for you. You can look at the same damn thing and it's different.
Mhm.
It's different. And so I say all this to say, because quantum physics helped me to unlock a lot of spiritual shit that I didn't understand.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, why is it that, in the Bible, it teaches us Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever? But yet, Jesus appears to different people differently. And Jesus does things, which Jesus doesn't really do anything, but in our perception is that Jesus does one thing for this person and another thing for another person, but it's the same Jesus.
Mhm.
So it's our perception that changes the outcome. Man, and this really helped me. And when I think about love now, I'm looking not at a particular thing, but I'm looking at the realm of probability.
Right.
And so Matthew DiStefano said something in a Heretic Happy Hour episode that we did, and he talked about sexuality being a spectrum.
Right.
See, we think of sexuality in détente, right?
Uh-huh.
In the beginning, we thought of it as binary. It's
Right.
male or it's female.
Right.
Then we introduce, you know, uh, homosexuality, and then we bifurcate homosexuality into, gay and lesbian, and then we get into bisexuality, and now we get into cisgendering and transgendering. And so what we find is that where we thought there were détentes, hard points,
Right.
or clicks on the line, it's really not. It's not a switch. It's more like a rheostat. It's not like an on and off switch on a light switch. It's like a dimmer switch, like that you can have an infinite number of possibilities within this. And I know people, so there's some people out there that are gritting their teeth with that I talked about sexuality in a fluid way like that. But I also believe that love is fluid like that.
Right.
Because we think of unconditional love. We think of either I love you or I don't, or that
Right.
I'm supposed to love unconditionally because Jesus loved unconditionally, or I love unconditionally because God loves unconditionally, or I want to be like my dog. I want to be like Bo and say I'm going to love unconditionally when Bo doesn't love unconditionally. There is a condition. And watch this. I'm going to say this and I'm going to shut up, because every one of us out here who is a car owner, you understand conditional love.
Mhm.
Because when your car has gas in it, has a good battery in it, and is in a good state of repair, and it starts up and run, you love your car. But the minute that rascal doesn't start, runs out of gas, or gets out of a state of standard repair, you're like cursing this thing. I mean, this thing was a blessing to you 5 minutes ago, but now you're cursing it. And here's the thing, we all say love people and use things instead of loving things and using people. But guess what? Even that is a fluid spectrum.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, like, I found this interesting that a lot of people that call themselves Christians, they love their pets more than they love people.
Oh, beyond a doubt.
Yeah. And so here is now your pet is a living thing, but it is a thing relative to people.
Yeah.
Right? It's living, it's life, but it's not the same. It isn't the same. It's not valued the same as a human life. But we love our pets more than we love our neighbor.
Mhm.
And so that, brothers and sisters, is a condition. And back to you, Aaron.
Yeah. So I think if we could take the trigger away from, and I'm going to process some of what you're saying because you're making me think some thoughts I hadn't thought before too. But if we can take the trigger, the emotional trigger out of the word conditional by understanding the word condition better, by
Mhm.
understanding that it is the cause that affects, right? So there are certain things that can, certain causes that can affect a greater level of love so that you move up that spectrum on the loving end of it, the empathy, the compassion end of it, right?
Yep.
And if we're okay, if we just understand the nature of things, that everything has conditions, that's just part of the world we live in,
Yep.
then it doesn't make you a bad person or a mean person or somehow less virtuous than someone else. If you can say, my love is conditional, if you're, we can just kind of take the emotional trigger out of the word. I think that would help. But I'm sitting here wondering, listening to you, Derek, and I'm sitting here wondering, well, damn it. The way we talk about love as a virtue, as a quality, as a moral, does that even exist? And here's what I mean by that. So if I were to say, I love Friday nights, I love Freeology Friday, I look forward to it all week long.
Me too.
And I love Derek Day, and I love this exchange that we have. Now, if I'm break down what I mean by that, it gives me bliss and pleasure to spend this time with you and with the viewers, right?
Yep.
It's an enjoyable experience for me. It's a quality experience for me. It's an edifying experience for me. Um, there's so many different things I could say about it, right? That builds value in this time for me. So much so that, it's the end of the week. We're both tired. And it'd be very easy to just, oh man, it's just been a rough week and I'm just tired and I don't want to have to think and I don't want to have to talk. And so it'd be easy to say value relaxation more than time on Freeology Friday.
Mhm.
But I love Freeology Friday because of the quality of experience
Mm.
and the value that that quality of experience brings into my life. Now, what I'm talking about though is an interaction. I'm talking about a process. I'm not even talking about a thing. I'm talking about an experience that I have that creates a certain effect in me that I enjoy and so I want to pursue. And I call that love. So is it possible then that we mistakenly think of love as a nature? We think
Mm.
we think of love as something that's an inherent quality. We think of love as a virtue. We think of love as a moral commandment, rather than the way we really use the word is to describe our bliss, describe the things that make us feel good, describe the things that make us happy,
Mm.
describe the things that we enjoy. And so is it a descriptor of our experience? And in that sense, what would that be? More of an adverb or an
Mhm.
adjective
Yeah.
than a noun, which seems like how we talk about it, like it's a nature, like it's a quality,
But
like it's
you
a
know what?
thing.
Watch this. This is something you and I both used to teach when we were Christian ministers. And it's this, that love is a state of being. I used to teach that, and I think that you taught a variation of that too,
I'm sure I do.
that we are love. But is that actually the case?
That's what I'm wondering. So I guess that brings me back to, have we been chasing our tails this whole time? Because it is,
I,
Derek. I mean, at the end of the day, it is. Now, if you're a person, you're watching, you're listening to this, and you're someone that you value people and you value healing and you value compassion and you value making the world a better place, leaving a legacy, whatever, and your goal is to love everybody, um, then I think that's a great thing. I mean, you're somebody I want to be around. You're somebody I would feel
that's a
safe.
noble goal.
Yeah, you're somebody that I would feel safe connecting with and whatever. So I'm taking that into consideration when I say this. But as a teacher, as a former preacher, as someone who still teaches on spirituality and stuff like this, if we're not careful when we're making Facebook posts or we're teaching people, we really do end up sort of virtue signaling
Mm.
when we say, well, I just love everybody, or, you know, I'm unconditionally loving or whatever. And we end up inadvertently sort of putting that on people. And so perhaps the danger to that is, if it's not real and it's not practical, then are we just giving people something else to feel guilty about because they can't live
Mm.
up to that standard at the end of the day?
Yeah,
I said a lot there.
no, that's when we tell people that they have to live and love, or they have to live a life of unconditional love. That's another guilt trip.
Right.
That's putting additional pressure on people. And what it is, even though we didn't see it that way, is really another form of behavior modification.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you said something earlier, that if I don't place conditions on my love, which if I think of my love, if I think of it as my savings, or if I think of
Right.
it as my portfolio of investment, if I think about it as something real and tangible, but I give it away,
Mm-hmm.
I'm indiscriminate about it. In other words, I'm unconditional about it. Then that means I cheapen it. And you
Mm-hmm.
said that earlier. And this is something that listen, this is something I'm wrestling with in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
because I used to always say love unconditionally. Let me tell you something. I have to make a confession, because I was writing a book that was called Love Forward: Advancing Humanity at the Speed of Thought. That was
Mm-hmm.
the book. That was the
Great
book.
title. Great
And,
title.
and it's a great book, and it's mostly done, and it will probably never see the light of day. I mean, seriously, I'm going back and onto some other projects, and I'm pissed because I spent like at least 3 years in
Mm-hmm.
writing this. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I don't believe in unconditional love anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, not only do I not believe in it, it simply doesn't exist.
Right.
And I had to come to grips with that. And so I'm listening to what you're saying, and it's as I'm juxtaposing what you're saying now in this moment with the words that I put in the page. I'm at the conclusion that no, I can't do that. I can't give that to anyone now, because if I do that, I'm giving it from a place of in other words, I don't believe in what I'm saying to you.
Right.
And that would make me a hypocrite. And that's something that I deliberately try not to
Right.
be.
Right.
So
Right.
this whole thing about unconditional love, I don't want to make my love cheap. Man, God damn it. It's like, we used to talk about sloppy agape and greasy grace and all of this stuff. We used to have all these little cliches and how, but love is unconditional. But wait a second. If you can have sloppy agape, that's love. That means that what is sloppy, right? You're just giving it away. You're not putting any conditions on it. You're not viewing it with any value. You don't see any intrinsic worth in it. And so as a result, you just say, well, I'm just going to spread it all over the place. But anything that you spread all over the place is something that you don't really value. And that's, man, Aaron, I'm telling you, this is like this is a seminal moment for me.
Wow.
I mean, I'm literally, listen, those of you who are watching, you guys are watching Derek grow in real time.
Well, thank you, Derek. I appreciate that, man, and me as well. And again, I know this is probably maybe triggering for a lot of people because it's so. I mean, it cuts against the grain. I mean, it's like there are certain things that are taboos, right? So for some people, you mentioned the transgender issue,
Mm-hmm.
sexuality on the spectrum, homosexuality, bisexuality, cisgender, all that stuff. And to some people, that's taboo. That's a taboo subject,
Yeah.
right? Um, so what's the opposite when something is not taboo? Like, I don't know if there's a term for the opposite, meaning that it's held in such high esteem within society that it's a assumption that we make that the highest virtue a person can have is to love everybody or be unconditionally loving or those kinds of things.
Would
But
that be norming?
yeah, I guess, yeah, like a social moray or a social norm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think the language is such a shock to that system that I can just imagine people having resistance to it, which I totally get. I mean, totally get that. So I just want to, invite those people to go back and re-listen to this because we're both growing and talking and sharing and evolving, like you said, in these moments together. And so but I want to recognize, this really can be a triggering topic.
It can be.
And but again, I love what you said because here's the thing: we've almost the way you're talking, Derek, we've almost reframed it to such a degree. I just thought of an example to explain the point, but we've reframed it to such a degree to say, look, if you, rather than seeing unconditional love as a virtue, unconditional love is actually cheapening what you have to give and share with the people that really mean something to you in your life.
And let me piggyback on that real quick,
Yep.
because it's not just cheapening what you have, it's cheapening what you are.
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
I mean, that's just straight up, man. I mean, it's like, think about this, right? For those of us who have daughters,
Right.
it's we teach daughters, and this is extremely sexist, by the way, trigger warning, that the most valuable thing that they have to give in their body is their sexuality. And that if you give it away, you cheapen it and you cheapen yourself. But there's something even deeper. Man, listen, I'm gonna say something here real quick, because a lot of times we give away our thoughts. We put our thoughts out there, and we make it public domain.
Mhm.
But our thoughts dictate our words, which dictate our actions, which dictate our habits, which dictate our character, which dictate our destiny. You can't give your thoughts away.
Mm.
Now, I'm saying all this to say that love begins with a thought. In other words, you have to focus your affection on something or someone
Right.
in order to love it. Because if I say, well, I just love, that means I've scattered it out, I've cheapened it, I've made it public domain. But
Right.
when I target it, see, man, God, I could go in so many directions. And my one of my sifus is on right now. Sifu is a Chinese word for teacher, and he's actually on and watching. But you know, we used to talk about the difference between a sniper rifle and a shotgun.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
see, the thing is, a shotgun is really kind of indiscriminate, especially when it has a short barrel and at close range. You scatter the shot out, and whatever you hit, you hit.
Mhm.
But when you have a sniper rifle, you're isolating your focus on a single point,
Mhm.
a single target. And so what I'm getting at here, fair listeners and viewers, is that your love should be targeted,
Mhm.
focused,
Mhm.
set. I mean, it's good to understand multiple targets. It's good to understand that. And it's good to be able to deal with multiple targets on a one-to-one basis, but not scattershot. And so I'm going to say this and I'm going to shut up, is that we have to live life intentionally. And one of the things that I've learned is that you will never get an intentional result from an accidental action.
Right.
You are not going to slip, trip, and fall. I got to say this too. Oh my God. If people say, I fell in love, I fell in love. You know, Elvin Bishop saying, I fooled around and fell in love. And I always say that if you fool around and fall in love, then go back to where you slipped and tripped and fell and make it intentional.
Ah, that's good.
Because if you fell in love, there's a good chance that you'll get up and get out of it.
Mm.
Because see, if you fell into it, that means that it was a hazard, that it was an obstacle, and that it was something that you didn't intend.
Mhm.
And so I say all this to say that when we talk about love, unconditional love is, when you talk about unconditional love, you're talking about accidental love.
Mhm.
You're talking about haphazard love. You're talking about slipshod love. You're talking about low quality love.
Yeah, for sure. For
You're
sure.
talking about love that isn't worth a goddamn thing. Now, so I've said that, and I'm good. I'm going to stop and take a drink on that one.
Damn, you're gonna add it back to me after that.
I'm just tuning it up, man. I'm hitting the organ
Well,
keys for you.
well, but here's the thing, like in order to have a focus on anything, in order to have a thought, you have to have a focus.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to have a focus, you have to exclude
Mm,
stuff. You have to delete
mm.
stuff, right?
Oh my
So
God.
if you make a decision, love is a decision. I thought, how shitty is that? I mean, some of the stuff that we like learned in marriage seminars and stuff like that. I mean, sitting there telling married couples, love is not a feeling, love is a decision. It's like, and I love what you said last week. You said this last week. You probably don't remember, but my wife and I were the same way. It's like, I don't want to, I don't want you staying with me out of obligation. I mean, the day you
Yeah.
have to get up and say, well, I gotta, white knuckle it through another day with Aaron.
No, get up and leave.
It's the
Shit.
day that, you know what I mean? And so decision, to make a decision, cut things off. You have to cut off everything else.
Mm.
We talked about that
Woo.
before too, right?
Woo.
So yeah, I mean, if what is the object of your affection? This brings me back to pursuing your bliss. What is the object of your affection? What is the object of your desire? That's what you love. And you cannot love everything or everybody. You can't.
No.
And so be cool and be chill with yourself and focus on the conditions, right?
Hmm.
That will give you the highest quality experience with the people and things that genuinely are the objects of your affection.
Mm.
And that's real life. That's practical. There's nothing wrong with that. And so take the pressure off to, try to be something that maybe is completely humanly impossible to become.
Mm. Dude. I tell you, man, trying to love unconditionally is exhausting.
It is.
You will grind yourself to a spiritual nub trying to love unconditionally. And I know I'm not speaking anecdotally, I'm speaking empirically out of the abundance of my experience. Because I really wanted that whole, listen, I wanted to be like Jesus. But Jesus wasn't like that. I'm about to say something blasphemous here. I had elevated Jesus to something that he's not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And the thing is that when we try, listen, your standard, and this is going to help somebody, this is going to bless somebody. Your standard is that gal or guy in the mirror. That's all you have to live up to. That is the only standard. That is the only God that you've got to please. Because anything external to that, trying to please people, trying to live up to the expectation of things, or even trying to live up to some standard of divinity will wear you out. And people wonder, and especially people that are still struggling with religion, they wonder, why am I so tired? Why am I so spiritually exhausted? And this is why, and this is going to help you, why you go to church. Because you think that that is the place of replenishment.
Yeah, right.
You
Yes.
treat it as though it's a gas station,
No,
but
yeah.
really,
People,
you're the
yeah,
gas pump.
come on, Derek. People used to tell me all the time, I need to come get my tank filled today, Pastor.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, I used to believe that. I used to even say this, right? As a pastor, I
Mm-hmm.
said that I had to have a pastor. And so when I was a bishop, I would say I'm a pastor to pastors. I am the filling station where other pastors can come to get filled up. But I too had to have a pastor, so I had to go and get replenished. But the reality is that you think that you're a source, but you're really a leech.
Mm.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
listen, the source is in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to get replenished, draw your bucket down into the well of the God in you. And that's how you get replenished. Because I'm going to tell you something else, that if you're looking for external replenishment, because listen, a car is a great metaphor. An airplane is a great metaphor. A motorcycle is a great metaphor, but you are not a car. You are not an airplane. You are not a motorcycle.
Right.
You are the holy grail of physics in that you are a perpetual motion machine.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, your prime mover in whom you live and have your being is right here. And if you go external to that, you will be forever disappointed, disillusioned, and depleted. How's that for illusion?
It's good, man. It brings me back to last week, talking about, I think it was last week, we talked about being, or maybe last couple of weeks, we talked about being your best and most authentic self, right?
Week before last. Yeah.
Week before last.
Yep.
Yeah. And so being able to, like, it's so weird how society and religion conditions us. That, like, some of the most basic mental health things that you can do is what you enjoy. And for some people, they have to find that out. For some people, they are so moralized, they are so socially conditioned, and they are so beat down that they don't even know if they like the taste of chocolate. You know what I mean? They they don't know what kind of music they really like because they've spent so much time trying to live up to the social norms or the group expectations or trying to please other people that they don't know their authentic selves. And one of the most mentally healthy things you can do, and then this goes back to knowing thyself, right? Know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Know, again, I've said this 3 or 4 times tonight, and I hadn't planned it, wasn't part of what I've, even where my thought process was and thinking about getting ready for this, but find your bliss, if you enjoy certain music, spend time with that music. You enjoy certain kinds of people or certain hobbies or certain activities or foods or,
Yes.
follow that stuff. And you will find oftentimes that your anxiety and depression or whatever you're struggling with on a mental and emotional level will lessen, because sometimes the problem isn't your brain chemistry or even your hurts as a child or your trauma. Sometimes you're just so busy living somebody else's life
Mm.
that you're not living your own life. And that's what I'm hearing you say, Derek. Like, I love that, man. The only standard you have to live up to is the one in the mirror.
That's it.
And so find out what you enjoy, find out what you love, and pursue those things, and let the rest of the world take care of itself. I mean, one of the best things I ever did, I read one time in a book, like, your job in this life is to make yourself happy. Your job is not to save the world
Yep.
or change the world. The world was fucked up before you got here, and it'll be fucked up when you leave.
Come on, man.
And so I think we waste so much energy sometimes because we're looking for that significance, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know I wasted a lot of my life, trying to change a system and change a world that didn't want to be changed at the expense. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have an impact, nothing wrong with wanting to have influence, nothing wrong with wanting to leave a legacy, but not at the expense of your own bliss and your own happiness. Then we're back to Jesus dying on the cross.
Right. I look at this like I have opinions. I have thoughts. And it's funny because people say to me, "Oh, well, Derek, you're just trying to stir the pot." And some people say, "Well, Derek, you're just striving for attention." And it's neither. my thoughts are very strategic and very tactical. I put them out um, for the purpose of prompting thought. I don't even care about the discussion, because people say, oh, well, like you're putting something out there to get likes and to get people to comment. I can care less if anybody ever liked or commented on anything that I posted. These are my thoughts. And I put it out there because I think that if you think about things, you'll come to some conclusions that will allow you to live a freer and happier life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I'm going to say this, that if your thoughts don't bring you to listen, every thought you should think out to its most illogical conclusion. See, that's the thing, like people think in terms of positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to think thoughts out to their most positive conclusion. But that's not the way life works. It's like things go from order to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That's the law of I think the third law of thermodynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So when things go into chaos, that means you have to think of like, what is the most illogical, the most destructive, the most ridiculous, the craziest possible conclusion of this thought. And if your thoughts don't flirt with that, you really haven't thought. Honestly, I mean, I take every thought, everything, I mean, virtually everything that I process. And my wife tells me all the time, she says, you overthink things. And she might be right. Matter of fact, I would say, because my wife is smart, I'm gonna give her a play here and say that she probably is right. I probably do overthink things, but I'd rather overthink it and miss it, overshoot it, than under aim. So everything that I'm thinking of is, so when you talked about love, is love unconditional? I'm thinking of, okay, what are the ramifications of that? What are the most ridiculous conclusions of that? And if we really stop and think about this, then what's going to happen is that we're going to come to some really unusual conclusions about love. And you'll say, okay, Derek, what is the point of that? Right? Because it is the ridiculous that pushes the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Society doesn't advance according to norms.
Right.
It is when the norm is broken, it's when the paradigm is shifted, it's when the envelope is pushed, then that's when humanity takes its next evolutionary leap forward.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to be. So
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
I love it. I love it. I think it's another great discussion.
Always is, man. Every time I get a chance to sit down and talk with you, um, Aaron, I'm telling you, man, this is like one of the high points of my week, man. I mean, this this is one notch below kissing my wife good morning.
Hey, man, can't do much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one notch below that.
Better watch out, Derek. I'm wearing a pink shirt.
Hey, listen, man. If I were there with you right now, I'd lean over and kiss you on the cheek. On the cheek. On the cheek, damn it. But I kiss you.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. Thanks, everybody. I just happened to see this. Daryl Carlson said this, and I love this. I got to read this.
Hey, let's do this real quick. Let's go through the comments. And
Yeah.
let's change it up a little bit, but go ahead. You're talking about Daryl saying.
Yeah, so yeah, let's do that. So Daryl says, if you want to change the world outside of your deepest joy, you will end up bleeping. See why I said that? Bleeping up the world even more. Pursue your joy, and you will change as much of the world as you should or want to.
Mm,
I love that.
that's beautiful. And um, so Marianne says, wait a minute. It says, yeah, religion teaches us not to think logically or scientifically. And that's exactly right. It's listen, religion tells you to turn your thinker off.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you something else religion does. Religion tells you to turn off your beer.
Yeah, as well as lose your humanity, and we could go on, huh?
Yeah, we can go on and on, but yeah, we'll respond to all the comments like we always do. And but Aaron, once again, brother, you you bless me. I mean, and I don't mean, I mean that in the least
Likewise, bro.
Christian way possible.
Likewise, made me think. I love this. I mean, you talk about growing, and I just want to echo that, man. I grow so much from these conversations. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
listen, if you guys want to, listen, we actually grow in real time, and not only
yeah,
that, we grow from each other, but we go back and read your comments, and some of you post the most profound stuff, and I'd like to find a way to read these comments in real time, but it's like when the show is ending, if you try to read the comments, it tries to replay the broadcast, and it gets messy. I tried
yeah,
that once, and it was an epic fail. Some of
yeah.
y'all may have caught that, um, but yeah, I grow from what you guys say. This is just absolutely a growing experience. And so, Aaron, man, we've been at this now. I wish I knew the exact date, but we're close to a year now.
I was going to say it's been about a year, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll definitely go back. I've been super busy, just so people know. I mean, I haven't been as active on Facebook because I've got a lot, Derek, that you know about. It's just going on in
Yep.
my life right now. It's keeping me super busy. So
Yep.
yeah,
Understood.
I got some catching up to do on the comments. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching and supporting in your comments. And I echo exactly what Derek said.
Namaste,
Um,
y'all.
you guys come up with some of the great stuff, and I'm growing in real time reading your comments too. So thanks for keeping them coming.
Yep. So until next time, we love y'all.
Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste. Peace. Thanks, Aaron. Love you, man.
Thanks, Derek. Love you too, man.
All
See you
right.
later.
Bye-bye.